Hello and welcome to the Say Films 99 YouTube channel. Today is a bit of a different video. Firstly, I just want to point out that episode 6 of my podcast will be out soon. As some of you may know, as some of you don't know, may not know, sorry, that I record these live on Radio Lowsham. They get out live and then I record them and then I just take the recording home and do an edit on them. But today I wanted to talk about a different topic. Today I wanted to talk about the future of Doctor Who. For those of you who are unaware, the 2026 Christmas special has been cancelled, and Rusty Davis and Bab Wolf have both left Doctor Who, leaving Doctor Who in a state of limbo. And they have also mentioned, the BBC has also mentioned, that it will be put out to a competitive tender, meaning that it would be helped by a third party or other companies will go out and take Doctor Who into their own hands and help. But sometimes it will go to the BBC studios, who have also, I think, worked on Doctor Who in the past. Beg pardon, I'm sorry. I'm doing this all improv at the last minute, and yeah, I really probably shouldn't have done this after I've eaten something, but whatever. I'm doing this on the fly. But yes, as mentioned, it'll be out to a creative tender. People can, bid for it and just get Doctor Who. I think they've already done this with Casualty and other shows, and I think people just need to just realise that that's happening, and the BBC are not really going to just suddenly give up on their most profitable property. It's the one that's been exported the most. It's still popular on iPlayer. They exports. It makes a lot of money, so they're not going to give up on it. This isn't the 80s where they just realized, oh, it's just a fledgling property and just let it die. They're not going to do that. They know it makes a lot of money. They're going to do it. So I don't really understand where all this attitude is coming from about how the BBC will just give up. I mean, yeah, it's going to take quite a while to fix it up because we're now in this limbo mess, but you know, it's still going to go ahead somehow. I guess I'm not entirely sure, but it'll go ahead somehow. Now, coming on to the Doctor Who's basically what's been happening. The Rusty Davis era, the second era, hasn't been really that great. I know some people weren't really fans of it. I wasn't really a fan of it, though there were some episodes, like I would say 75 Yards and Story in the Engine, which I quite liked. But honestly, yeah, it's not been a great era. But here's what I think some people are not going to, are missing out on, which is Doctor Who's decline really didn't start just all of a sudden on the Rusty Davis 2 era. I'm sorry to say this, but Doctor Who's been living on borrowed time since Twice Upon a Time. You see, when Moffat did the 50th anniversary, it was this popular big event and everyone loved it and all people around the world were watching it. And then Series 8 happened and it was kind of like a grim hangover and it was like this darker series and that put some people off. And I hate to bring ageism into this, but I think even Peter Capaldi being an old man also pushed some of those fans away because they were like, oh, well, you had 10 and 11, these younger people, and now you have this guy. Why would I want to watch an old man wander around? I know some people go, well, I want to watch it, and I want to watch it too, but some people will have that attitude, unfortunately, because that's just how it is. And Series 8 was alright, then Series 9 was okay, but I think I would argue that in Series 9, the tank scene, where it may have just been a bit much for some people and it left a sour taste in some people's mouths. But there were some good episodes. But by Series 10, which is a series I loved and adored, it was very clear that the show was dead on its knees. It was pulling in 6 million. And Eaters of Light, I believe, was like one of the lowest rated episodes, and it being written by Ron Monroe, who did Survival, was not a good sign at all for the show. And I think even Moffat realised that, yeah, you know what, the show is on its way out. I might as well put you only Twice Upon a Time, sorry, as a cap on New Who and possibly Classic Who. Here it is, goodbye. And for a while, it did feel like that this could have been the end of New Who. This was roughly like over 10 years in the making in New Who, and it just felt like the end of an era. But then Chris Chibnall came along and put some life into the show. And yeah, Series 11, sorry, was not great, but it was still pulling in a decent amount. But by the time Russ tried, it was just back to the edge of the decline, and it just felt like the show was just going to end again. And COVID practically killed the show and cancelled it, and then Chibnall brought it back for Flux, uh, on a reduced capacity. But I think he even realized again at that point, yeah, the show is on its way out, and he just wrote Power of the Doctor as a special to cap again the both the New Who and Classic Who eras, and then left. And it did feel like that it could have been the end had it not been for that David Tennant regeneration. This would have been the end of Doctor Who. It could have been just the absolute end, goodbye and done. But not for long, because Ross T Davis came along and basically made some 60th anniversary specials, and then series 14 and 15. Um, for a while, it didn't feel like this could have been a fresh new start. The Disney era would bring in a new audience, and it would just be this fresh new era. And then it just all fell apart really quickly, and it just didn't work at all, which was a real shame, because this really could have been the point where Doctor Who was rejuvenated and done well, and say the show is saved, and we have new fans, and we don't us older fans don't even need to worry about the show anymore. But we're back to square one again. But honestly, as I said, the show is just living on borrowed time since Twice Upon a Time, and it's not a bad thing. It's just that I think it just kept going for the sake of going, like, because Doctor Who's this cultural institution for Britain, and is an iconic part of British culture. It has to keep going, or otherwise the show will just die. And I think that mentality is what's been one of the biggest problems in Doctor Who. It must keep going, or otherwise the whole entire world will end. But really, does that really matter? I feel like the show just needs a massive reset and rest. I know the 1 year hiatus between 2016 and 2017 was a silly decision that almost basically was one of the things that basically killed the show dead, but honestly, I just feel like it needs a good rest. I don't know how long for, but it just needs a rest. And I know Doctor Who fans are upset, and I understand it, and I get it, but the show just needs a rest, and we all just need to just explore other things, expanded media, or other science fiction properties. I'm sorry to say this, but I think it's just healthier to just go and explore other science fiction properties. And in the meantime, I'm waiting, because just sticking around, waiting, coping, and all this is just not healthy, and you're just gonna get stuck in a rut. I mean, if it wasn't for Doctor Who, I wouldn't have discovered Red Dwarf, I would have discovered Mass Effect, I wouldn't have discovered Bugs, which is like, I think was the replacement for Doctor Who back in the 90s. And yeah, I think it does definitely need some kind of rest, because I feel like the show is tired and old, and they're just basically using the same showrunners, writers, and people. Another thing I want to touch upon is I feel like Rusty Davis getting all the blame is entirely unfair. I know some people point out to me, oh, he's head producer, he should have known better and stuff. And yes, I will hold him to account and say that yes, he is the head producer. He should have been a better producer and done more to bring the show into a fresher light. But I would also argue that Disney, BBC, and everyone else practically also have some part to blame. For example, Disney gave notes. They didn't really care for the show that much at some point. I know, because series 14 wasn't that great, but it seemed to a point that just wasn't caring and wasn't pumping out the budget that they wanted. And the BBC, I think, also shares some blame in this, because I feel like they just rushed into it. They just said, oh, Rusty Davis wants to come back. Okay, here's the 60th anniversary. Here's the two series. Go. Unaware of the fact that Doctor Who was already a sinking ship. It was already sinking into the ground, into the water, sorry, by the time Russell turned up. And as I said before in the previous point, it was on borrowed time. Rusty Davis could do only so much, but it did seem like for a while that freshness was brought into Doctor Who stuff like Story in the Engine and 75 Yards, but it just did not work. at all, which is a real shame because I feel like there was a lot of missed potential in the RDD2 era and Disney era, and I feel like all that missed potential, all those loose plot threads is just going to cause a mess for the next showrunner and next crew, next production, and I don't blame anyone for just not wanting to deal with that mess. And the other thing I also want to touch upon is one thing that just really irritates me. Everyone's just losing their minds or celebrating, haha, Doctor Who cancelled, Doctor Who dead, and ha, we were all proved right, woke Doctor Who dead, and all that stuff, and it's just absolutely frustrating. Like, this is why people don't really like the Doctor Who fandom. I'm sorry to say this, but some people in the fandom are too entitled, too spoilt, too man-childy, and just going, oh, but Doctor Who isn't like what I wanted it to be, kind of thing, and it's just irritating. And I feel like if we have a reset, if we let it rest, let those older fans just leave the show, then when it comes back as this new fresh thing, then all will be for, well, not all will be forgiven, but all hopefully will be well-ish. Um, but in the meantime, we still have expanded lore, and I have a feeling that Big Finish are going to make some bank on Doctor Who audios. I do remember they announced the 10th Doctor audio range. Like there was a lot of stuff coming up for that, and yeah, they're gonna make a lot of bank with that. Even if it is annoying how they always keep bringing him back because the show is fledgling. And oh god, if we do somehow get an abundance of like 10th Doctor merch and stuff in this gap, then yeah, I'm not looking forward to that. Another thing I also want to touch upon is there's of course the fugitive Jejune, not fugitive Jejune, fugitive Doctor, um, and Circuit Breaker, something to do with like Unit or something. I don't know. I mean, there's that to look forward to, but I feel sorry for those guys because they worked. Looks like they worked really hard on getting this up and running, and I think people are just not going to bother with it because it's like, well, Doctor Who's gone. Why should I bother with your um media expanded thingy um official thing? Like, why should I bother with it? Doctor Who's gone, so yeah, I don't envy the production crew. I feel really sorry for them because it is quite clear that they worked hard, and I also feel sorry for Joe Martin, who loves the fugitive Doctor and is clearly enthusiastic in these interviews, and now it's just gone all to pot, and my heart bleeds for her. Really, she just is a wonderful actress and does not deserve any of this stuff that is going on right now. Um, so what do I think will happen with the future of Doctor Who? Like I said, I think it does need some in dire need of some rest because, as I said, it's been coming stale and stuff. And I feel like, yeah, it just needs a rest. And I feel like a new production company can come into the fold and just bring some new ideas and stuff, and just go, hey, here are some new ideas. Here's some new Doctor Who. Let's go for it, kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, I have ideas for Doctor Who, and I have ideas wanting to be a showrunner, but I'll just stick with my YouTube channel. In the meantime, which is just mainly I've been mainly building up a podcast, as you've probably seen, as mentioned, episode 6. I don't think I mentioned it or mentioned it. I'm not entirely sure, but episode 6 will be around at some point Saturday or some other. But yeah, I do have like Doctor Who ideas. I do have ideas for projects that I want to do and other things. And yeah, for me personally, as you probably can hear, I kind of saw this on the wall. I kind of saw for a long time that yeah, this is not going to go well, and yeah. I was kind of disappointed that the 2026 special was cancelled because I feel like they have to wrap this stuff up. There's no way that they can just leave these plot threads hanging, and it's just absolutely frustrating that those plot threads are just now hanging again. And yeah, but for me, I'm, as I said, not really that fast. As I've said, I've gone on to look at other sci-fi properties and other sci-fi things, and that's not to say I hate Doctor Who now and I'm going to leave it forever. No, I'm just exploring other things, and not just sci-fi things but other things, and just look towards the future and just look at other things. Because if I get stuck on Doctor Who, which is my comfort show for the longest time, then I'm just going to get, as I said, stuck in the rut, and it's just not going to be healthy. I've learned to realize now that Doctor Who will just be on and off the air, or just not exist for some time, and that there are other things on the horizon. Um, like I said, Doctor Who. If it wasn't for Doctor Who, I wouldn't have discovered other things here and there. I'm kind of running out of things, as you can tell. I'm so sorry. I'm just making this up on the spot, but yeah, I don't really blame some Doctor Who fans for being upset though, because it has been a comfort show for some people. It's been there as a way of escapism. It's been there as a way of comfort for some people. Um, it's been there as a way to just escape from the real world, stress relief. Lots of people set up YouTube channels to talk about Doctor Who and have just made like not a living, I would say, but some earnings off it and just talking about it. And yeah, I'm just kind of sad about the whole uh, Doctor Who thing, really. The future seems uncertain, but I feel that there is something along the way. And I think some people are also forgetting that I think the Doctor Who CBBS thing is also happening. Don't know when that's happening, but apparently it's deep into production. And yeah, it's not really Doctor Who, but at least they're putting something out there. And I mean, it's a sign that they're not going to give up entirely. It's just a little gap thing until we get to the next Doctor Who thing. Um, but yeah, I think the future of Doctor Who does seem a little bit bright. I'm not entirely sure, but I feel it's a tiny bit bright for now. I feel like there is some hope, but we just have to hope and wait. But I think there are some positives, there are some negatives with this news, and I would rather want to focus on the positives because if I get bogged down in the negatives, then it's just you know. And also another thing I wanted to touch upon is I do find it amusing that some people said, "Oh, I want to be the showrunner, I want to do the thing," and yeah, I get it, I get it, but I think we're just all jumping the gun a bit, and I think we just need to wait a while. Another thing I want to touch upon is I feel like some people are saying, "Oh, well, we just go back to low budget and screw this Disney budget stuff," and I just want to say that's a silly idea because budgets are not what they were 20 years ago. They're quite low now, and the BBC is having a funding crisis. It can barely fund an expensive show like Doctor Who, so that's why it's asking for this creative tender. So I think people need to give it more credit because just because something has £1 million budget doesn't mean it's all going to be shiny and have all these things. No, 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 no. It's going to go into other things like VFX and sets and stuff. I mean, to be fair, Doctor Who did recycle like the same three sets for Series 14. I think it was the that little robot command center thing that Belinda's character was in. I think it was recycled to become the palace at the end of the finale, and then I think it was recycled into the Homer Aqua base with the unit spin off Land Between the Seas. So they are trying to be creative and ingenuitive. So, but it does really need that budget to compete with other sci-fi franchises because a lot of sci-fi franchises look a bit modern and clean and have all these big budget and VFX and stuff. And I think Doctor Who needs to sort of, well, not compete, but be on that level if it really wants to bring in the figures. Because people don't like cheap things, unfortunately, nowadays. They want expensive, shiny, big budgeted things. And yeah. But honestly, to conclude, I would say Doctor Who's future, I would say, is still bright. I still have hope. And I think we just need to wait and see what happens. But on the other hand, I don't blame anyone having to deal with the plot threads of the series 14. Sorry, not series 4, series 15 and 14 and the um, stuff around it. Yeah, I don't blame anyone for that. But, I think people just need to relax, stay calm, just wait a while, go and do other things, and just wait around really because Doctor Who may not be around forever. I mean, so we'll be around somewhere, and I think we just need to just calm down and look to the future, and also look at other science fiction properties or other things. Because staying with one show, you're just going to get stuck in a rut. So yeah, those are my thoughts. This is a bit impromptuous and a bit all hoggled together and stuff. I apologize, it's a bit all over the place, but I just wanted to put my thoughts out there because I just wanted to, really. So yeah, podcast of sorry, the Box of Niche podcast episode 6 will be out soon. Um, I might put a video out, put an update about what things I want to do with this channel. Um, don't know if anyone's actually been watching this, but we'll see. I mean, it's only 22 subscribers and 11 videos, but we'll see. Well, until next time, see you around. Bye.